There is a place in America where more than 17 million acres of land is a national park, bigger than some countries. A place where tides can rise 40 feet, fast enough to catch anyone who isn't paying attention. A place where you can walk on a glacier that glows electric blue from the inside. This is Alaska. But what many overlook are the stories. We're going to show you the beautiful spots the brochures talk about, but we'll also tell you the secrets they leave out. The stories are, to be blunt, wild. Our journey begins in a place that seems almost impossible. It's called Thompson Pass, located near the port town of Valdez. Now, when you think of snow, you might think of a few feet. But here's the catch. Thompson Pass holds the world record for the snowiest place in Alaska, and some say the world. It gets over 974 inches of snow in an average year. That's more than 81 feet. Imagine a building 8 stories tall. That's how much snow falls here. You see, this pass is a massive wall that catches all the wet air coming off the Gulf of Alaska. The results are, to put it mildly, extreme. In the summer, it's a stunning drive on the Richardson Highway. You're surrounded by sharp, snow-capped peaks and bright green meadows. People pull over for photos, hiking through fields of wildflowers, but the weather here is tricky. What many overlook is that summer can vanish in an instant. There are true stories of visitors hiking in shorts and t-shirts in early September, only to be caught in sudden, heavy snow flurries. The pass doesn't care about the calendar. For tourists, this is a vital link. If you're driving to Valdez, this is the only road in. In winter, it's a playground for serious snow lovers with backcountry skiing and snowmobiling. But it's also incredibly hazardous. The risk of avalanches is constant, and crews work non-stop to keep the road open. There aren't many hotels right in the pass. It's too wild. Most people stay in Valdez, at places like the Totem Hotel and Suites, and make the drive. The local custom? Always check the weather report twice and pack boots no matter what month it is. But the snows of the pass are nothing compared to the waterfalls that freeze solid just down the road. Just after you survive Thompson Pass and head toward Valdez, you enter Keystone Canyon. This place is a whole different kind of drama. The road narrows, and giant, sheer rock walls rise straight up on both sides of you. It feels like you're driving through a massive gate. And pouring down these walls are waterfalls, one after another. The most famous are Bridal Veil Falls and Horsetail Falls, which cascade down hundreds of feet. During the summer, it's a beautiful, misty drive. You can pull over and feel the spray. But the thing nobody tells you is what happens in winter. All that water stops. It freezes solid. These massive waterfalls turn into giant sculptures of blue and white ice, clinging to the rock face. It's a jaw-dropping sight. This has made the canyon famous for a very specific type of person, expert ice climbers. These brave adventurers come from all over the world to climb these frozen rivers. Locals have nicknamed it Waterfall Canyon because you can see over 10 different falls right from your car. Yet, what many overlook is that most cruise ship crowds heading straight for the boats in Valdez miss this spot entirely. They don't take the short drive inland. For tourists, there are several pullouts to stop and take pictures. The road is the main highway, so it's easy to access. As for food, you're just minutes from Valdez, where you can grab a famous seafood dish at a place like the Fat Mermaid. The canyon itself is a testament to the power of water, both flowing and frozen. And this canyon empties out near a harbor that once faced an unimaginable disaster. When you leave Keystone Canyon, you arrive in Valdez. The first thing you see is the Valdez Harbor, and it's one of the most peaceful sights in Alaska. Small fishing boats and tour boats bob gently in the water, and rising almost straight up from the shoreline are the Chugach Mountains, dusted with snow even in the summer. Photographers, you see, go crazy for this view. The reflection of the mountains in the calm water is perfect. This harbor is a year-round port. It's the end of the Alaska pipeline, so tankers are a common sight along with the ferries and fishing charters. The views today look almost unchanged from how they looked decades ago, which is amazing when you know the story. But here's the catch. This calm harbor hides a violent past. In 1964, the Good Friday earthquake, the strongest ever in North America, hit this area. The shaking was bad, but the tsunamis that came after were worse. They completely reshaped the coastline and destroyed the original town of Valdez. The entire town had to be moved. The Valdez you see today was rebuilt 4 miles away in a safer spot. The harbor, now so peaceful, is a symbol of resilience. For visitors, this is the hub for glacier and wildlife tours. You can book a trip to see sea lions and otters right from the docks. You can stay at places like the Best Western Valdez Harbor Inn, right on the water. For a local plate, try the smoked salmon chowder at the Wheelhouse Lounge, where you can watch the boats come and go. But the true power of this area isn't in the harbor, it's in the lake of ice just beyond it. Just a short drive from the new town of Valdez is something that feels prehistoric. It's the Valdez Glacier Lake. This isn't just a regular lake, it's a body of murky, turquoise water that is absolutely filled with floating icebergs. These aren't small chunks. Some are the size of a car or even a small house. They have broken off the massive Valdez Glacier at the far end of the lake. The amazing characteristic here is the color. The water is a milky blue-green from all the glacial flour, tiny bits of rock ground up by the glacier, and the icebergs themselves are often a stunning, deep electric blue. The best way for a tourist to see this is by kayak. You can rent one in town or go with a guide. Paddling quietly among these floating ice giants is an experience you will never forget. You can get right up to the face of the glacier itself and hear it groaning and cracking. A wild fact. In the summer of 2020, the lake was a surreal sight. A huge carving event where a massive piece of the glacier fell off, choked the entire lake with ice. It looked like a solid ice rink, even in the warm weather. It was a whiteout effect that few people got to see because of travel restrictions. For visitors, this is an easy trip. The road goes right to the lake's edge. There are no bars or hotels out here, just pure, raw nature. But as huge as this glacier is, it's just a tiny piece of a park that defies imagination. People talk about Yellowstone or Yosemite, but the thing nobody tells you is that you could fit both of them, plus the Grand Canyon, inside Wrangell, St. Elias National Park and Preserve. And you'd still have room left over. This is the largest national park in the United States at 13.2 million acres. It's bigger than the entire country of Switzerland. It's a land of massive scale. This park contains 9 of the 16 tallest peaks in the United States. It's a rugged, raw landscape of mountains, glaciers, and wild rivers. To put it mildly, it's not a place you just drive through. The best way to even understand its size is from the air. Tourists can take a flight-seeing trip from small towns like McCarthy or Chitina. From a tiny bush plane, you can see volcanoes, massive ice fields, and peaks that seem to go on forever. But here's the unknown story. This park isn't just empty wilderness. Dotted across the landscape are the ruins of old copper mines from the early 1900s. The Kennecott mine is the most famous, a massive red building clinging to the side of a mountain. It's a ghost town. Explorers and hikers still find rusted tools and old relics left behind by the men who chased the Klondike gold rush. It's a reminder of a wilder, forgotten side of American history, a time when people risked it all for a piece of this land. And while this park holds giants, one of its icy rivers is a place you can actually walk on. If you're driving the famous Glen Highway, you can't miss Matanuska Glacier. This is a 27-mile-long river of ice, and the thing that makes it so special is that it's one of the few glaciers in the United States you can actually drive right up to. A short gravel road takes you to a parking lot, and from there you can walk onto the ice. This isn't just a flat sheet of white. The glacier is alive. It's moving every day. As you walk, you see giant cracks called crevasses, which glow with a light that can only be described as electric blue. It's like looking into the heart of the ice. For tourists, this is a must-do. You can hire a guide to take you safely onto the glacier, giving you ice cleats for your shoes. They can lead you to amazing features like ice caves, tunnels carved by water that feel like blue cathedrals. The local indigenous Athabascan people have legends about this place. They called the glacier a spirit bridge to the afterlife. And even today, modern hikers who explore the ice caves whisper about hearing strange, eerie echoes from deep within the hidden tunnels. It's the sound of the glacier itself settling and moving, a sleeping giant. For a place to stay or eat, the Matanuska Glacier Lodge offers amazing views and warm food just a short drive away. But just down the highway from this river of ice is a lake that holds the sky prisoner. As you continue on the Glen Highway, you'll come across a body of water called Long Lake. Now, at first it might just seem like another pretty lake, but what many overlook is its special secret, which only reveals itself on calm days, especially at dawn. This lake stretches for 7 miles, named for its long, thin, snake-like shape, and it's tucked perfectly between the Chugach Mountains. When the wind is still, the surface of Long Lake becomes a perfect, flawless mirror. It creates a mirror image of the surrounding mountains and the sky that is so clear it can be hard to tell which way is up. It looks like you could step right into the sky. Local lore says the lake holds the sky captive. Early explorers on these rare windless days wrote in their journals that they thought they were seeing a mirage, that the water wasn't real. For tourists, this is a photographer's dream. There are several safe places to pull over on the highway to capture this amazing sight. There are no hotels or bars right on its shore. It's a protected natural spot. It's a place for quiet reflection, both literally and figuratively. It's a simple, stunning example of Alaskan beauty that doesn't require a helicopter or a long hike, just a bit of patience for the wind to die down. And just a bit further, a simple pull-off hides a secret from a world-changing conflict. Driving the Glen Highway is an event in itself. It's a national scenic byway, stretching for 189 miles. Along the way, there are countless small, unmarked pull-offs. One of these, which many people drive right past, offers one of the best views on the entire road. From this one spot, you get a huge panoramic view of a braided river, a river that splits into dozens of small winding channels with vast meadows of wildflowers in the foreground. It's a perfect spot for a picnic, a place to just stop and breathe in the massive scale of Alaska. But here's the catch. This unmarked spot has a hidden story. This little patch of flat land wasn't just a scenic overlook. During World War II, it was a secret emergency airstrip. It was used as a testing site for planes that needed to land in rough, remote areas. If you know where to look, you can still find faint traces of the concrete pads hidden in the brush and wildflowers. It's a piece of history hiding in plain sight. The thousands of tourists who stop here for a photo have no idea they're standing on a piece of military history. It's a reminder that in Alaska, even the prettiest places have tough, secret pasts. But the area's strangest history isn't from the war. It's from the gold miners who built their homes in the sky. High in the mountains north of Anchorage is Hatcher Pass. This isn't just a mountain pass, it's a whole different world. At an elevation of 3,886 feet, it's a historic mining area that has been turned into a huge recreation spot. In the fall, the place is famous for its colors. The tundra turns a bright golden yellow, and against this, the historic cabins of Independence Mine are painted a deep crimson red. The contrast is breathtaking. In the winter, the pass is buried in deep snow, and the area becomes a paradise for cross-country skiing and snowshoeing. But the real story lies in those red cabins. They were built by gold miners back in the 1930s. These men lived and worked in this harsh, high-altitude place, digging for gold. Today you can tour the old mine buildings and see what their lives were like. But you see, a local story has been passed down. One of the cabins, part of the main lodge, is said to be haunted. The tale involves the ghost of a prospector who supposedly stashed his gold claim somewhere nearby and never left. People staying in the lodge have reported hearing footsteps and strange noises, believing it's the old miner still guarding his lost treasure. For tourists, you can drive to the pass, hike the trails, and even stay at the Hatcher Pass Lodge. And from this high-up pass, you can sometimes see the shimmer of a giant ice field that few ever reach. Sprawling for 40 miles within the Chugach Range is the Nick Glacier. This isn't a glacier you can just walk up to. It's a vast, remote ice field, accessible only by air or, for the very adventurous, by boat and a long trek. The most incredible way to see it is by helicopter. Tour operators will fly you over the glacier and actually land on the ice. From the air, you can see its true scale. It's not just white, it's crisscrossed with crevasses that glow like veins of blue sapphire. Landing on it is like landing on another planet. The silence is huge, broken only by the sound of the ice cracking and moving. But this beautiful remote place is also tied to a famous, sad story. In 1935, the legendary aviation pioneer Wiley Post was testing a new pressurized suit nearby. His plane went down, and he perished in the crash. His wreckage was lost for decades, swallowed by the harsh landscape near the glacier. When it was finally recovered, parts of it inspired new technology and modern flight. For visitors who take the helicopter tour from the Nick River Lodge, the story adds a layer of history to the stunning views. Some pilots have even said that on clear days, you can sometimes see strange reflections in the ice that look like the shadow of Post's long-lost plane. But not all of Alaska's wonders are so hard to reach. Some are right next to its biggest city. Just 15 miles from Anchorage, Alaska's largest city is Eklutna Lake. This is the most visited recreation area in the state, and for good reason. The water is crystal clear and a stunning turquoise color, fed by a nearby glacier. It's surrounded by the jagged peaks of the Chugach Mountains. It's a perfect place for kayaking, biking, and hiking. There are even floating boardwalks that let you walk out over the marshy areas near the shore. It's a beautiful, easy-to-reach spot for a day trip. But here's the catch. This lake is much more than just a park. It is a sacred place for the Dena'ina Athabascan people. The thing that makes this place truly unique is found nearby, the Eklutna Historical Park. Here you will find a small, colorful cemetery. But it doesn't look like a normal cemetery. Instead of tombstones, there are brightly painted spirit houses. These small, dollhouse-like structures are built over the graves. It's a fascinating tradition that blends the native Athabascan beliefs with the customs of the Russian Orthodox Church, which came here centuries ago. The belief is that these houses hold the souls of the ancestors. It's a powerful, quiet place that reminds visitors that this beautiful land has a deep human history. And this deep history continues right into the city itself, a city that was almost erased from the map. Anchorage is a city of strange contrasts. It's the largest city in the United States by area, a huge 1,961 square miles. It's a modern city with a skyline, busy streets, and about half of all the people in Alaska. But the wilderness is right there. It's not uncommon to see a moose walking through a downtown park. The Chugach Mountains rise up like a wall at the edge of the city. In the fall, the Eagle River Nature Center, just a short drive, explodes in reds and golds. You can get amazing food here, from fresh-caught salmon to reindeer sausage at places like Simon and Seafoods. You can stay in comfort at the historic Hotel Captain Cook. But the thing nobody tells you is that this entire city is built on shaky ground. On Good Friday, 1964, a 9.2 magnitude earthquake, the most powerful ever recorded in North America, struck. To put it mildly, the earth just opened up. Entire streets collapsed, buildings crumbled, the ground in some places sank 4 feet. It was a terrifying event that caused immense destruction and many lives were lost. Today, the city is rebuilt and modern, but the memory remains. Citizen scientists still map the hidden fault lines that run right under the city. It's a reminder that even in Alaska's biggest city, nature is always in charge. But just south of the city, the very water itself rises up in a wave that defies all logic. Just south of Anchorage is Turnagain Arm. This is a long, narrow bay that cuts deep into the land. It's one of the most scenic drives in the world on the Seward Highway. But this water is not what it seems. First, Turnagain Arm has one of the highest tides in the world. The difference between high tide and low tide can be up to 40 feet. When the tide comes in, it doesn't just rise slowly, it creates something called a tidal bore. This is a massive wave, sometimes 6 to 10 feet high, that rushes up the bay. On the right days, you can actually see surfers riding this single wave for miles. But here's the catch. The rest of the bay is incredibly dangerous. When the tide goes out, it leaves behind vast grey mudflats. This mud looks solid, but it's like quicksand. It has swallowed wagons whole in the past, and people have to be rescued every year. The bay got its name from the famous explorer Captain James Cook in 1778. He was looking for the Northwest Passage, but this bay was a dead end, so he had to turn again. What many overlook is that this bay is also a critical habitat. If you're lucky, you can pull over and see pods of white beluga whales swimming in the water, chasing fish on the high tide. And hidden in the forests just off this bay is a magical waterfall many tourists drive right past. Tucked away in the Chugach State Park, near the ski town of Girdwood, is a little trail that leads to a magical place, Virgin Creek Falls. This isn't a giant, thundering waterfall. It's a 100-foot cascade that tumbles down through a lush, mossy, old-growth forest. The trees are covered in thick green moss, and the air is cool and misty. It feels, to put it mildly, enchanted. It's a very short hike from the road, maybe only 10 minutes. Because it's so easy to get to, it's a favorite spot for locals. But many tourists on the highway miss it completely. The falls are named for their untouched and pure vibe. But the thing nobody tells you is that this place has a much older story. Locals say this was a traditional healing site for the Tlingit people. There are whispers of a hidden hot spring at the base of the falls, which is what gave the water its healing reputation. Adventurers sometimes go off-trail, scrambling up the rocks to try and find this hidden spring. For visitors, it's the perfect quick stop to stretch your legs and see a piece of the rainforest that feels ancient and secret. But if you want to see Alaska's other residents, the next stop is a place where they are guaranteed. A little further down the Seward Highway is the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center. This isn't a zoo, it's a 200-acre sanctuary for orphaned and injured Alaskan animals. The animals here, like massive bears, moose, wood bison, and muskox, cannot be released back into the wild. Here, they have a safe place to live. The best part for tourists is the layout. You can drive a loop through the park, or you can walk on an elevated boardwalk that takes you right over the bear enclosure. You can get an intimate, safe view of these huge animals roaming, playing, and swimming. It's a fantastic way to see the big five of Alaska, especially if you don't get to see them in the wild. But here's the touching, unknown story. One of their most famous residents was a grizzly bear named Cheech. She was rescued as a tiny cub after her mother was harmed by a poacher. She was hand-raised by the center's staff. Her therapy sessions with the zookeepers helping her recover were so inspiring that they became the basis for a children's book about wildlife ethics and conservation. It's a place that isn't just for show, it's doing real important work. And just down the road from this center, a lake holds the ghosts of a town that vanished. Welcome to Portage Lake, a place with an eerie gray-blue color. That strange color comes from all the glacial silt in the water. Looming at the end of the lake like a giant stage curtain is the Shakespeare Glacier. This whole valley is a lesson in how fast Alaska can change. Until the 1960s, there was a town here called Portage. But the 1964 earthquake changed everything. The quake caused the land here to sink by 6 to 10 feet. The whole area was flooded by the rising tide and the town was destroyed, its ruins now under the mud. But here's the really wild story. The earthquake also, in a way, drained the original lake overnight, stranding thousands of salmon. The lake eventually refilled bigger than before, but now it hosts a strange phenomenon. Locals talk about ghost fish, which are large schools of salmon that appear on fish finders, but then vanish instantly, likely hiding in the thick, cloudy silt storms at the bottom. For tourists, the only way to see the glacier up close is on the MV Ptarmigan, a boat tour that crosses the lake. The boat gets you right up to the ice. And the highway that leads you here is considered one of the most beautiful drives on the planet. The Seward Scenic Highway is not just a road, it's the destination. This 127-mile ribbon of pavement connects Anchorage to the coastal town of Seward. It's been designated an All-American Road, a title reserved for the most beautiful drives in the country. On one side, you have the steep, rocky walls of the Chugach Mountains. On the other, the road hugs the dramatic coastline of Turnagain Arm and its fjords. There are dozens of pullouts along the way. You can stop to watch for beluga whales, see dull sheep climbing on the cliffs, or pick wild berries in the late summer. The highway passes through the Kenai National Wildlife Refuge, offering unbelievable views of mountains, rivers, and glaciers. But here's the unknown story. What many overlook are the small memorials on the side of the road. This incredible highway was built by hand in the 1950s. A significant part of the labor was done by the WACs, the Women's Army Corps. These women did the back-breaking work of carving this road into the mountainside. Their stories are often forgotten, but their hard work created this masterpiece of engineering that millions of people now enjoy. And this highway leads to a tiny town where airplanes land on water right next to a historic dock. Along the Seward Highway, you'll find the tiny community of Moose Pass. With only about 200 residents, it's easy to blink and miss it, but this town is the hub for something amazing. Flight seeing. The town is built around Trail Lake, and on any given summer day, you'll see float planes taking off and landing on the icy blue water, taking tourists on breathtaking trips over the nearby glaciers. The most photographed spot in town is the dock at Trail Lake Lodge. It's a perfectly symmetrical wooden dock that stretches out into the stunning lake with float planes tied up to it. It's a classic Alaskan image, but that dock has a secret. This wasn't always just a tourist lodge. During World War II, this lake was used as a seaplane base for military training. The thing nobody tells you is that divers recently explored the bottom of the lake. They found submerged propellers and other parts from planes that crashed here during those dangerous training exercises. Today, it's become a unique secret snorkel and dive site for those who want to see a piece of sunken history. And this lake is just one part of a much larger and stranger body of water nearby. Just past Moose Pass, the highway runs alongside Kenai Lake. This is a massive lake, 23 miles long and over 850 feet deep. But the first thing you notice is the color. It's a vibrant, almost unnatural turquoise hue. This color comes from glacial silt, and it's so bright that it glows even on cloudy, rainy days. The lake is surrounded by deep green forests. For tourists, there are many trails leading down to secluded coves and hidden beaches. It's a popular spot for fishing and camping, but it's also a place of deep, cold silence. One traveler shared a story of hiking solo on a rainy day. They reached a private cove, and the world was completely still. They dipped their toes in the freezing water, and the silence was so profound, they said it felt like the lake itself was whispering secrets of the ancient floods that carved it. And it does have ancient secrets. What many overlook is that this entire area is rising. As the massive glaciers melt, the land, freed from the weight of the ice, is slowly bouncing back. This post-glacial rebound is revealing things that have been hidden for 10,000 years, including a whole national park full of ghost forests and living glaciers. At the end of the Seward Highway lies Kenai Fjords National Park. This park is where the Ice Age is still happening. It covers over 669,000 acres and it's home to nearly 40 glaciers that flow from the massive Harding ice field. This is one of Alaska's top destinations, and the best way to see it is by boat. Tour boats leave Seward's Harbor and take you deep into the fjords. Here you see the real Alaska. You'll see tidewater glaciers, glaciers that flow right into the ocean. You'll hear the thunderous crash as massive chunks of ice carve or break off and fall into the sea. The water is teeming with life. You're almost guaranteed to see seals sleeping on icebergs, comical puffins nesting on the cliffs, and if you're lucky, pods of orcas hunting in the deep water. But here's the unknown story. The park is hiding a secret underwater. As the land rises from the melting ice, it's pushing up ghost forests. These are ancient trees that were buried by glaciers thousands of years ago. On very rare low-tide dives, you can see these submerged trees perfectly preserved, a time capsule of an ecosystem that existed 10,000 years ago. And all of this ice flows from a single massive sheet that boggles the mind. That place is the Harding ice field. This is the heart of Kenai Fjords National Park, and it is almost impossible to understand its size. It's an endless expanse of white, covering 700 square miles. In some places, the ice is up to 4,000 feet thick. This is the largest ice field entirely within the United States, and it's the source for all those glaciers you see in the park. For most tourists, the ice field is something you just see from a boat or a plane. But for the truly adventurous, there is one way to see it on foot: the Harding Icefield Trail. This is a tough 8-mile round-trip hike that climbs over 3,000 feet. It's a hard day's work, but the reward is one of the most incredible views on Earth. You stand at the edge of the trail, and all you can see from horizon to horizon is a vast white desert of ice. Early explorers called this place impassable. A famous and sad expedition in the 1930s tried to cross it. The team was lost to hidden crevasses. Their journals, found years later, revealed their last days were filled with strange, hallucinatory visions, which they blamed on ice spirits guarding the pass. This entire wild world is accessed through a town that was born from a gold rush. The town of Seward is the gateway to all this adventure. It's a small, charming harbor town with a population of about 2,800, but it's packed with history. This is the official end of the historic Iditarod Trail, the famous dog sled route. The harbor itself is stunning, with electric blue water reflecting the snow-capped peaks that surround the town. It's the launching point for fjord tours, fishing charters, and kayaking. The town is also home to the Alaska Sea Life Center, a world-class marine biology research center where you can see puffins, sea lions, and seals up close. But the town's history is built on the gold rush. In 1898, this place became a boom town, full of prospectors, saloons, and wild characters. And here's the fun, unknown story. The town was full of whiskey caches. Saloon owners and miners would bury their expensive whiskey to hide it from thieves or later from the government during Prohibition. Even today, beachcombers and people digging foundations for new buildings will sometimes unearth these buried bottles from the 1800s. A liquid treasure from the gold rush. And the bay this town sits on was named for a holy day by the Russians who once ruled this land. Seward sits at the head of Resurrection Bay. This is a deep, 18-mile-long fjord. Its steep walls rise straight from the glassy water, protecting it from the rough swells of the open Pacific Ocean. This protection makes it a prime spot for whale watching in the summer. Humpback whales and orcas often come deep into the bay to feed. The bay got its name in 1792 from a Russian fur trader, Alexander Baranov. He was exploring the coast and sailed into this protected bay on Easter Sunday, so he named it Resurrection Bay. But the thing nobody tells you is that these Russian fur traders had a dark secret. They were known to hide their own shipwrecks here. The story goes that some captains would intentionally sink their older ships in these calm, deep waters to claim the insurance money. They would report the ship as lost at sea in a storm. Divers exploring the deep, cold bottom of Resurrection Bay have found cannons, Russian Orthodox icons, and other relics from these 1800s ghost voyages. Ships that were never meant to be found. And all around this bay, the land explodes in a riot of color during the short, intense summer. When you think of Alaska, you might think of ice and snow, but an Alaskan summer is an explosion of color. The long days with almost 24 hours of sunlight create a hothouse effect. Wildflowers grow everywhere. The highways are lined with fields of purple lupines, but the most famous of all is the fireweed. This is Alaska's state flower, a tall stalk of bright pink and magenta blossoms. There are over 2,000 species of wildflowers in the state. Fireweed gets its name because it's one of the first plants to grow back after a wildfire, healing the burned land. In July, entire meadows and mountainsides are ablaze in this bright pink color. But there's an older story. Tlingit elders have used fireweed for centuries. They brew it into a tea, which they say heals heartbreak. This remedy was supposedly born from ancient tales of survival when villages had to rebuild after volcanic eruptions. The fireweed, which grew first from the ash, became a symbol of resilience and healing, a cure for the sadness of what was lost. And this resilience is felt all the way down the coast on a thin strip of land that juts 5 miles into the sea. At the very end of the Stirling Highway, there's a place called the Homer Spit. This is a narrow 4.5-mile-long gravel bar that stretches out into the beautiful cold waters of Kachemak Bay. This is literally the end of the road. It's the longest natural spit in the world. The spit is a vibrant, quirky place. It's crowded with small shops, art galleries, and seafood restaurants, known locally as the Shacks, built on stilts over the water. You can camp right on the beach, with silhouettes of mountains and volcanoes across the bay. It's also the halibut fishing capital of the world. And for some reason, it's home to over 200 bald eagles that gather here in the winter. But here's the wild fact. The spit was built by glacial outwash 15,000 years ago. It's a pile of rock and sand dropped by a retreating glacier. And because it's so old, it holds Ice Age secrets. During big storms, the waves will churn up the beach and people will find buried mammoth bones and even ancient tusks washed up on the shore. A direct link to the massive creatures that once walked this land. But if you want to see Alaska's living giants, you have to go to a park named for a disaster. Welcome to Katmai National Park and Preserve. This 4 million-acre park is famous for two things. First, it was the site of the Novarupta eruption in 1912, the largest volcanic eruption of the 20th century. It created the Valley of 10,000 Smokes, a landscape of ash and steam. But today, it's famous for its bears, specifically Brooks Falls. This is the place you've seen in pictures. Dozens of massive brown bears gather here to catch salmon as they leap upstream. It is one of the greatest wildlife spectacles on Earth. The park has become so famous for this that it hosts Fat Bear Week online every year. A contest where people vote for the chonkiest bear getting ready for winter. But here's a little-known secret behind the fun. One of the park's well-known bears, number 480, was a fan favorite. What many didn't know is that in the 1990s, he survived a poacher's attack. He was rescued and treated by park rangers in a secret operation. He became a living symbol of the rangers' quiet, covert rescues and their dedication to protecting these amazing animals. And as big as these bears are, they have an even bigger cousin on a nearby island. Kodiak Island is the Emerald Isle of Alaska. It's the second largest island in the United States at over 3,500 square miles. Unlike the icy north, Kodiak is a lush green rainforest. Misty mountains are covered in deep green forests that run right down to cobalt blue bays. But the island is, of course, most famous for its residents, the Kodiak bears. These are a unique subspecies of brown bear, and they are the largest in the world. They can stand over 10 feet tall on their hind legs and weigh over 1,500 pounds. They've been isolated on this island for thousands of years, growing massive on the rich diet of salmon. The native Alutiiq people have lived here for over 7,000 years. Their ancient legends speak of giant fish that would wash ashore. These were, in reality, beached whales. The whales provided so much food and material for the people that it gave birth to the island's rich tradition of totem carving and art as a way to honor these massive gifts from the sea. But for all of Alaska's islands and coasts, its most famous icon is a single mountain in the center of it all, Denali National Park and Preserve. This is the Alaska that most people dream of. It's 6 million acres of wild land. A single road, 92 miles long, runs into its heart. This is a park where the animals rule. You'll see wolves, grizzly bears, moose, and massive herds of caribou roaming free. In the fall, the tundra floor explodes in a carpet of fiery reds, oranges, and yellows. The park is, of course, home to the tallest mountain in North America. But here's the catch. The park is so massive and the mountain so tall that it creates its own weather system. The result? Only about 30% of visitors ever actually see the mountain's peak. The rest of the time, it's hidden by a thick blanket of clouds. The native Athabascan people, who named the mountain Denali, meaning the High One, have always respected its power. An early climbing attempt in 1906 ended in failure and mutiny. The climbers wrote in their journals that they were turned back by cursed weather spirits that seemed to guard the mountain. A story that feels very real when you see the clouds swirl around its hidden summit. You see, when that summit does appear, it is one of the most breathtaking and intimidating sights on Earth. Denali. For years it was called Mount McKinley. But it has been returned to its original Athabascan name. This is the king of all North American mountains. It stands at 20,310 feet, but the thing that makes it so massive isn't just its height, it's its relief. Most big mountains start on a high plateau. Denali rises almost straight up from a 2,000-foot lowland, meaning you see almost 18,000 feet of mountain. It's a wall of ice and rock that defies belief. Only about 1,000 people attempt to climb it each year, and only about half make it. The base camp is at 7,200 feet. Even on the rare, perfectly clear days when the mountain is fully visible from the park road, its peak is often shrouded in a lenticular cloud, a strange, lens-shaped cloud that sits on the summit like a cap. Pilots who fly flight-seeing tours around the mountain have reported a strange phenomenon. Summit mirages. On clear but windy days, the ice crystals in the air can make it look like climbers near the top simply vanish into the fog. Or that there are shadow climbers on the ridges. It's an optical illusion that echoes the old myths of the lost expeditions. But you don't have to climb this mountain to have an unbelievable view of it. Perched on a tiny rocky outcrop called a Nunatak, surrounded by the massive Ruth Glacier in Denali National Park, is the Sheldon Chalet. This is not a rustic cabin. It is one of the most remote and luxurious eco-lodges on the planet. To get here, you must take a special helicopter. There are no roads, no trails. The chalet is designed for one thing, the view. The walls are windows, giving you a 360-degree panorama of Denali and its surrounding peaks. It's so remote that it sits under one of the thinnest spots in the troposphere. What does that mean? It's one of the best places on Earth to see the northern lights. Guests report seeing the aurora 1 out of every 3 nights from September to April, right from their private decks. But this luxury comes at a price, upwards of $2,300 a night. The unknown story? The chalet was built by a family to honor their ancestor Don Sheldon, a legendary Alaskan bush pilot who crashed nearby. He dreamed of building a lodge here. Guests have sometimes reported seeing a strange shadow on the ice in the reflection of the sun. A shadow that looks like his original plane. And for those who can't take a helicopter, there's another way to see these amazing views. By train. The Alaska Railroad is a true icon. It stretches for 470 miles from Seward in the south to Fairbanks in the north, passing right through Anchorage and the edge of Denali National Park. This is, to put it mildly, one of the most beautiful train rides in the world. The best way to travel is in the Gold Star service cars. These are double-decker cars with glass-domed ceilings. This means you get a 360-degree view as the train glides through remote canyons, over massive bridges and past valleys that you simply cannot see from any road. The train has to slow down for moose and bears on the tracks. But this historic railroad has a secret past. The tracks were built in the 1920s. During Prohibition, when alcohol was illegal, this train was the main way to smuggle bootleg whiskey into the remote interior of Alaska. Midnight trains, running with no lights and unofficial schedules, would carry the secret cargo. Conductors and engineers were all in on the secret, creating a hidden network that kept the remote mining camps supplied with their forbidden drink. And this train will take you to the north, to a city that is the capital of the Northern Lights. Near Fairbanks, in the deep, dark heart of Alaska, is a place called Borealis Base Camp. This isn't a normal hotel, it's a collection of modern glass-domed igloos set in the middle of a 100-acre boreal forest. These clear, curved windows make up 16 feet of the roof, meaning you can lie in your warm bed and watch the northern lights dance across the entire sky above you. This area is perfect for aurora viewing from September to March. The pods themselves are inspired by the traditional Sami dwellings of Scandinavia, but with a futuristic, luxurious twist. It's a way to be deep in the Arctic wilderness, but in total comfort. But here's the unknown story. The camp was inspired by a true event from the 1950s. A massive meteor shower lit up the sky during one of the local dog sled races. The light was so bright, the racers said it looked like daylight. The founder of the base camp wanted to recreate that feeling of being completely immersed in the sky. As a secret detail, one of the igloos has a star map of that very meteor shower etched into the glass, a hidden tribute only a few know about. And if a glass igloo isn't your style, there's another warmer way to watch the aurora nearby. About 60 miles from Fairbanks, at the end of a long road, is Chena Hot Springs Resort. This place is famous. Imagine sitting in a huge outdoor pool of natural hot mineral water, steam rising all around you, while the temperature outside is 20 below zero and the northern lights are swirling overhead. It is a surreal and magical experience. The springs were discovered in 1905 by gold miners. They were suffering from rheumatism and other pains, and they heard local legends of a miracle cure spring. They found it, and the resort was born. Today, the resort is also famous for its ice museum. It's a building kept frozen all year, filled with amazing ice sculptures. You can even get a drink at the ice bar, served in a glass made of ice. But here's the story many people don't know. The original miners who bathed here really did believe the water was magic. They would soak for days. In a hidden cave near the original spring, guides found a pair of petrified prospector's boots from the 1910s. The minerals from the water having turned them hard as rock over the decades. But to see the real north, you have to leave the resorts behind and get on one lonely highway. This is the James W. Dalton Highway. It's a 414-mile road, mostly gravel, that runs from just north of Fairbanks all the way to Prudhoe Bay and the Arctic Ocean. This road was made famous by the TV show Ice Road Truckers. It was built in the 1970s to service the Trans-Alaska Pipeline and the giant pipeline snakes along the road for its entire length. This is a road to nowhere. It's a place of surreal, empty isolation. You drive through endless Arctic tundra. There are almost no services. In fact, there is one stretch that is 240 miles long without a single gas station, restaurant, or hotel. It's the longest gap between services on any highway in North America. Truckers who drive this route are a special breed, and they have their own stories. They talk about pipeline ghosts. These are mirages, especially during the cold, dark winters, that look like the figures of oil workers from the 1970s, the men who built the pipeline. They say they see them walking along the road, only to vanish when the truck gets close. And this road is the only way to get close to America's most remote and untouched national park. Gates of the Arctic National Park and Preserve. The name says it all. This park is entirely above the Arctic Circle. It's 8.4 million acres of raw, rugged wilderness. And here's the catch. There are no roads, no trails, no facilities, no campgrounds, nothing. It is the northernmost national park in the US and one of the last truly wild places on Earth. The park is dominated by the jagged peaks of the Brooks Range. The name Gates of the Arctic was given by an explorer who saw two mountains that seemed to guard the pass into the deep north. To visit here, you have to be flown in by a bush plane and left on your own, or you have to hike in from the Dalton Highway. The Gwich'in people who have lived on this land for thousands of years have legends about this place. Their lore warns of wind spirits that live in the passes. These spirits, they say, are tricky and powerful, and once trapped a group of explorers in an eternal blizzard for disrespecting the land. It's a place that does not welcome humans and demands respect. But Alaska's wildness isn't just in the north, it's also in the stunning fjords of the southeast. Glacier Bay National Park and Preserve is a UNESCO World Heritage Site in southeast Alaska. It's a massive bay, over 1,000 square miles, filled with tidewater glaciers. This is a place you see from a cruise ship or a tour boat. You sail up deep fjords and watch as 1,000-ton chunks of ice carved from glaciers like Marjorie and Johns Hopkins crashing into the sea with a sound like thunder. The bay is also famous for its humpback whales, which use a clever trick called bubble net feeding. A group of whales will swim in a circle, blowing bubbles to create a net to trap fish, and then burst up through the center with their mouths wide open. But here's the amazing fact. This bay didn't exist 250 years ago. In 1750, it was almost all solid ice. The glacier has retreated 65 miles since then, one of the fastest retreats ever recorded. And the Tlingit tribes who lived here have oral histories that tell this exact story. Their ancestors had to flee the advancing ice in their canoes. Their stories describe thunder rivers and the ice monster that swallowed their homeland, a perfect description of the little ice age that is now finally ending. The capital of all of Alaska is a city in this region that you cannot even drive to. There is a part of America that feels like another world, a place of primeval forests, blue ice serpents, and cities that float on the water. This is a maze of islands and water, a place where the rainforest meets the glacier. It's called the Inside Passage, a protected route that snakes through the coastal archipelago of southeast Alaska. And the cities here are different. They are outposts of civilization, clinging to the edge of an immense, untamed wilderness. To get here, you have to leave the land behind, because where we're going, there are no roads. Our journey starts in the most unusual capital city in the United States. Welcome to Juneau, the capital city of Alaska. But this isn't a capital like any other. It's a city of 30,000 people, squeezed between the impossibly deep blue of the Gastineau Channel and the crushing weight of massive mountain peaks. Behind those peaks lies the Juneau ice field, a 500 square mile river of ice, the fifth largest ice field in the entire Western Hemisphere. You see, there are no roads that lead to Juneau. You cannot drive here. It is the only US capital that is unreachable by car. Every person, every car, every bag of groceries, and every piece of lumber arrives one of two ways, by boat or by plane. The city is, in effect, an island, cut off from the rest of the continent by thousands of square miles of impenetrable mountains and ice. This isolation creates a strange and magical atmosphere. It's a city set in the heart of the Tongass National Forest, the largest temperate rainforest in the world. Moss hangs from every branch, and the air is thick with the smell of wet cedar and the sea. For tourists, the city's unique geography is on full display. The most popular thing to do is take the Gold Belt tram. It's a massive tramcar that runs from the cruise ship docks right in the center of town and goes straight up the side of Mount Roberts. The incline is breathtakingly steep. In just a few minutes, it hoists you from sea level to the alpine meadows at 1,800 feet. You leave the rainforest canopy below and emerge into a subarctic tundra of wildflowers and snow-patched rock. From here, you get a godlike view of the city, the deep fjord of the Gastineau Channel and the snow-capped peaks of Douglas Island across the water. But here's the funny story about how the city was founded. It was, like so many Alaskan towns, born in the gold rush. In 1880, two prospectors, Joe Juneau and Richard Harris, were guided to this area by a Tlingit chief named Cowie. They found gold, and a lot of it, but the legend goes that one of the founders, Joe Juneau, faked his initial gold strike. The story claims he salted the creek, sprinkling gold dust he already had into the water to attract more investors and start a boom town. If it's true, it worked. The Harris-Juneau strike set off one of the first major gold rushes in Alaska, and the town of Juneau was born overnight. And as you look out over the harbor, you'll see a massive life-sized bronze sculpture of a breaching whale. It's beautiful, but it's not just art. That whale, known as Taku, is a time capsule. It was sealed in the year 2000, filled with items, letters, and artifacts from the city, a message in a bottle for the future. It's scheduled to be opened in the year 2100, leaving us to wonder what the people of the future will think of the world we left behind. But the most famous resident of Juneau isn't a person or even a whale, it's a 13-mile-long serpent of ice. Just a few minutes' drive from downtown Juneau is the Mendenhall Glacier. This is the icon of the region, a 13-mile-long blue ice serpent that winds down from the Juneau ice field and ends in the frigid, silt-filled Mendenhall Lake. Right next to its face is the powerful Nugget Falls, a huge multi-tiered waterfall that thunders hundreds of feet into the lake, crashing onto the icebergs that have carved off the glacier's face. The sheer accessibility is staggering. You can park your car, and after a short walk on a bear-proof trail, you are standing in the presence of a river of ice that was born during the last ice age. The glacier is always moving. You can't see it, but it advances and retreats about 2 feet every single day, grinding the rock beneath it into fine powder. The visitor center itself, built in 1962, offers amazing panoramic views. But it also tells a silent, dramatic story. When the center was built, the glacier's face was right at its edge. Today, you have to look over a mile across the lake to see it. It is retreating, and it is retreating fast. But the glacier is most famous for its ice caves. These are otherworldly, almost supernatural-looking tunnels melted into the glacier by running water. To reach them is an adventure in itself. You have to kayak across the icy lake, pull your boat onto the rocky shore, and hike over the barren, lunar-like landscape of the glacier's edge. If you find an opening, and if you are brave enough to go inside, you will enter a world of impossible color. The ice inside glows an unearthly, brilliant blue. It's not a trick of the light. The dense glacial ice absorbs every other color of the spectrum, reflecting only that deep, vibrant azure. The glacier was named for Thomas Mendenhall, a scientist who, when he first studied it in the 1890s, wrote that he could hear the ice. He described it moaning, groaning, and cracking as if it were a living thing. This led to local legends. The Tlingit people have long known the ice is alive. Rangers and hikers have reported seeing strange, unexplained blue lights flickering deep within the ice caves, especially at night. Scientists say this is likely piezoelectric sparks, static electricity built up by the stress and pressure of the moving ice. But others, those who have stood in the blue caves and felt the ice breathe, prefer the more mysterious explanations. Juneau is also the gateway to even more remote wonders. From here, you can take a boat tour into the Tracy Arm Fjord, a place that makes Mendenhall feel like a city park. This is a true, narrow fjord, winding for over 30 miles, with sheer granite cliffs that rocket 3,000 feet out of the water. At the end of this dramatic waterway are the twin Sawyer glaciers. Here you can hear white thunder, the sound of house-sized blocks of ice carving or breaking off from the glacier's face and crashing into the sea. The water is a maze of ice, so thick with burgee bits that the boats must carefully pick their way through. Harbor seals use these floating ice chunks as nurseries, and you can see hundreds of them with their pups resting just yards from the glacier. It's a visceral, powerful reminder of the raw Ice Age power that carved this entire coastline. But to find the true history of this region, you must travel south to a town where Russia and America collided. Welcome to Sitka, a misty, beautiful town on a collection of islands. This place feels different from the rest of Alaska. It's set against a stunning backdrop. A dormant volcano, Mount Edgecumbe, rises from the ocean like a perfect Japanese painting. The town is set against forested hills, and its beaches are made of dark volcanic sand. But the real difference is the culture. Sitka was the former capital of Russian America. Before the Alaska Purchase, this was the most important city in the Russian Empire's North American colonies, known as New Archangel. And that Russian influence is everywhere. You can see the green, onion-domed spires of St. Michael's Cathedral right in the center of town. This is the first Russian Orthodox cathedral built in the New World. In 1966, a fire swept through downtown Sitka and burned the cathedral to the ground. But the townspeople, Russian, Tlingit, and American, formed a human chain in the freezing night, running into the burning building to save the priceless 200-year-old religious icons and paintings. The cathedral was rebuilt, and those same icons are back inside today. This is the very spot where Alaska was officially handed over from Russia to the United States in 1867, a deal nicknamed Seward's Folly, because so many Americans thought Alaska was a worthless wasteland of ice. The transfer ceremony, held on Castle Hill, was famously awkward. The story goes that when the Russian flag was lowered, it got stuck, and a Russian soldier had to climb the pole to cut it down. Sitka is also home to the Sitka National Historical Park, a place of quiet, profound beauty. It holds the largest and oldest collection of Tlingit and Haida totem poles in the United States. These massive carved poles, some over 100 years old, line a beautiful silent trail through the rainforest. Walking this totem trail feels like walking through an outdoor cathedral with the giant moss-covered spruce and hemlock trees towering overhead. But this park is also the site of a famous and sad event, the Battle of 1804. This was the last major armed conflict between the native Tlingit people and the Russian fur traders. The Tlingit were defending their ancestral home from the encroaching Russians who had cannons and muskets. The Tlingit had a wooden fort. It was a tragic, bloody affair that cemented Russian control of the region. And here's the local legend. A cursed cannon from that very battle is said to still be lost in the bay. The story goes that the cannon was part of the Russian ship, the Neva, which sank in the storm-tossed harbor. Every few years, during a big storm, a fisherman or a beachcomber will claim the cannon has washed ashore, only to be dragged back out by the tide before it can be recovered. And when it appears, locals say, it summons a powerful storm as a ghostly reminder of the conflict that defined this town. For a happier side of Sitka, you can visit the Alaska Raptor Center. This is essentially a hospital for birds of prey, a world-class rehabilitation center. Here, you'll find majestic bald eagles, owls, and hawks, all recovering from injuries. The goal is always to release them back into the wild, and seeing these incredible birds up close is an experience you'll never forget. And our final stop is another coastal town, a place so wet it's called the salmon capital. Our journey ends in Ketchikan, the salmon capital of the world. This is the very first city most cruise ships stop at in Alaska, the gateway to the Inside Passage, and it is wet. Ketchikan gets, on average, over 150 inches of rain every year. That's almost 13 feet. Locals don't even use umbrellas. They just wear Ketchikan Converse, the classic extra-tough rubber boots. This constant liquid sunshine is what makes the surrounding Tongass rainforest so impossibly, vibrantly green. The salmon capital nickname is no joke. This isn't just a quaint title, it's a statement of fact. In the high summer, the streams and rivers around Ketchikan, Alaska become a living, writhing mass of silver and red. They are so thick with returning salmon, all 5 species of Pacific salmon, the mighty king, the brilliant red sockeye, the acrobatic coho, and the abundant pink and chum, that it's said you could, quite literally, walk across their backs. The air itself changes during the run. It's filled with the constant, chaotic sound of splashing and the earthy, primal smell of the spawn. These fish are on a desperate, one-way journey to the very gravel beds where they were born. Driven by an instinct so powerful that it defies all obstacles. You can see them leaping up the salmon ladders, built right into the town's waterways. These aren't just streams, they are concrete and steel marvels of engineering, stepped channels that allow the fish to bypass dams and natural barriers. It's an exhausting, relentless fight, and you can stand just feet away, witnessing the sheer raw power of nature's cycle. This, of course, is a dinner bell for the local black bears who patrol the banks, and the sky is dotted with bald eagles waiting for their share of the feast. The town itself is a marvel of human engineering, born from a similar refusal to bow to a difficult landscape. It's a city crammed between the impenetrable, rain-soaked Tongass National Forest and the deep, cold waters of the Inside Passage. With almost no flat land to speak of, the only way to build was up. The city is built on impossibly steep forested hillsides, so steep that many of the streets are just winding wooden staircases. These pathways have names and histories, like the famous Married Man's Trail, a once secluded path that allowed men to discreetly visit the red light district without being seen on the main thoroughfare. The most famous part of town, however, is Creek Street, a historic boardwalk built entirely on stilts, hovering precariously over the Ketchikan Creek. This wasn't for charm, it was a necessity. The creek floods and the tides surge, so the founders simply built above it all. Today, Creek Street is a charming, photogenic street of bright, colorful shops, local art galleries, and cozy cafes. But that modern charm is built on a very rowdy foundation. During the Klondike Gold Rush, Ketchikan was the first and last major stop for ships heading north, a place to provision up or blow off steam. In those days, and right through Prohibition, Creek Street was the town's beating, illicit heart. This was the rowdy saloon and red light district, packed with loggers fresh from the timber camps, miners with pockets full of gold dust, and fishermen with a season's pay to spend. The most famous of these bawdy houses was Dolly's house, run by the legendary Dolly Arthur. She was a savvy businesswoman in a tough world, and her house, now a museum, is a time capsule. Walking inside, you can almost hear the player piano and the clink of glasses. It was on one of these buildings that a famous, cheeky sign used to read, "Where men and salmon both came upstream to spawn." It was literal. The creek below was full of fish, but everyone in town knew what it really meant. But as incredible as the town's history is, the real wow factor here is just outside of town, the Misty Fjords National Monument. This is a wilderness preserve that makes even the grandest man-made landscapes feel small and insignificant. It's been called the Yosemite of the North, and for once the nickname is an understatement. This is a vast wilderness of sheer 3,000-foot granite cliffs, sea-filled valleys carved by ancient glaciers, and thundering waterfalls that drop directly into the ocean. These fjords were scoured from the rock by massive rivers of ice, and when the ice melted, the sea rushed in, creating a labyrinth of deep, dark, and silent waterways. The best way to see it is by kayak, or even better, a float plane that can take off from the harbor and soar over the treetops before landing on a remote, glassy mountain lake. The roar of the engine echoes off the stone walls, and then, as the pilot cuts the power, a silence so profound it's almost physical descends. The misty part is no joke. The whole place is almost always shrouded in low-hanging clouds and fog. The mist clings to the Sitka spruce and cedar trees, making the entire landscape feel ancient, silent, and deeply mysterious. Is Alaska's breathtaking beauty worth the extreme danger, or is this wilderness just too untamed for us? Let us know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more hidden stories from the world's wildest places.